Good evening and welcome to Columbus First United Methodist Church. It is good to have you here for our jazz service this evening. This doesn't seem to be working right. Are we getting? Okay, hear me coming through that. I'll keep going. Okay. So everything you need for the service tonight is in your bulletin. All of the hymns, all of the readings, everything is printed inside of there, so you'll have all that is needed. We would encourage you at some point in the service, you'll find a little book right on the end of the aisles. If you would sign that and pass that down the aisle. One of the things that we would encourage is that if you would like to receive the Monday devotion that we do, if you would take a moment to give us your email address and we'll add you to that list and we will include you for those Monday devotions. And it's the kind of thing, if you enjoy it, it'll be in your inbox every Monday morning. If you decide it doesn't work for you, you hit delete and it never comes back. So either way is fine. So let us prepare for our service as we now light our Advent candles.
Please stand as you are able and join me in the call to worship. In the stillness of the Bethlehem night, the news is beginning to spread. The songs of the angels share the good news, and a star lights the way. Tonight, creation held its breath as heaven and earth felt the presence of God among us. This is the night when God embraced humanity, when God met us in the flesh, and God meets us once again in this time of worship. A reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verses 2, 6, and 7. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this.
And now, a lesson from Isaiah 35, 1 through 6. And the wilderness and dry land shall be glad, and the deserts shall rejoice and blossom. Like a crocus it shall blossom abundantly, and rejoice with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, and the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord, the majesty of our God. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who are of fearful heart, be strong, do not fear, here is your God. He will come with vengeance, with terrible recompense. He will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the speechless shall sing with joy. For waters shall break forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. And now Micah 5, 2 through 5a. But you, O Bethlehem of Ephrathah, who are one of the little clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me who is to rule in Israel, whose origin is from of old, from ancient days. Therefore he shall give them up until the time when she who is in labor has brought forth, and the rest of his kindred shall return to the people of Israel. And he shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. And they shall live secure. And now he shall be great to the ends of the earth, and he shall be the one of peace. that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. A reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verses 8 to 16. In that region there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among those whom he favors." When the angels had left them and gone to heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in a manger.
reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod had heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring word to me that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there, ahead of them, went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And now we invite the ushers forward to carry our gifts before him.
Okay, let's see if, yes, this is working. Good. So first let me say a great deal of appreciation to Gary, Thomas, and Chelsea. You guys do It's always good to have them here, and although I'm behind the pulpit and can't see, I know that this is the time of year that Methodists come this close to dancing in their pews, and that's a delight to see that and know that's going on. Some of you know the tradition that I'm about to share with you, that several years ago, much like this one, Christmas fell on a Sunday. And I had folks who were asking me, well, are we going to do church on Sunday? I said, yeah, we will. I'm going to do something special. And I hadn't really thought about what I was going to do, but now I had committed myself. And so I wrote the first of what became a tradition of an annual poem. And so this year I share with you this poem, which I call A Picture Perfect Christmas. The headlights illuminated the snow-covered drive as 3 cars simultaneously arrived. A long night of frosty caroling to family and friends was coming to a fulfilling end. Inside the house, they would warm their fingers and toes with cookies and hot chocolate with marshmallows. Before going inside, Lois looked next door. She called to everyone, let's do one more. A faint light shining next door would indicate that Mr. Ott was likely still awake. A few carols might bring some cheer and buy a little bit of goodwill for the new year. Lois and friends trudged across the sidewalk. Huddled on the porch, they gave a sturdy knock. The unexpected sound gave Mr. Ott a little fright, wondering who could be knocking at this time of night. He carefully opened the door a crack and saw a dozen faces smiling back. In the night air, they sang of Jesus' birth, songs of angels, shepherds, and peace on earth. One after another, they sang the familiar Christmas songs, and Mr. Ott smiled and sang along. Their music warmed his heart. Tears ran down his cheeks as he was filled with wonderful memories. The music ended and the carolers waved goodbye, but Mr. Ott said, wait, and disappeared inside. He had not expected guests and felt ill-prepared, but he wanted to find something that he could share. On a little tray, he assembled some treats quickly. Some slices of orange, some banana bread, and a few cookies. He returned to the door before they could depart with those simple gifts that came from his heart. As the carolers received these treats and waved goodbye, Mr. Ott noticed a young boy eyeing the treats but seeming shy. He lowered the tray to eye level so that the boy could see and exclaimed, "Take as many as you please." Lois's son, Paul, looked over the treats now within reach. Mr. Ott smiled and said, "Why don't you take one of each?" With delight, the boy filled his hands, said a quick thank you, then turned and ran. As they returned to warmer climes, Mr. Ott called out, "Come back any time." Returning to the warmth of his recliner, Mr. Ott smiled within, giving thanks for neighbors and good friends. Back at home, a young Paul took off his coat and gloves and savored these treats that were given out of love. In 2 homes nestled side by side, a fresh ember of friendship was beginning to burn bright. The next morning found Paul outside playing in the snow, walking up and down the sidewalk with his sled in tow. He practiced making snow angels and tried his hand at a snow fort. He threw snowballs at the stop sign trying to hit the O for sport. He pretended he was in an avalanche as he shook the snow from the trees, and he used 2 pizza boxes to fashion a pair of skis. He lost all track of time as he enjoyed the winter reverie, but a little growling indicated he was getting hungry. He decided it was time to go in, but then an idea struck him. With snow-covered boots, he tromped over to Mr. Ott's porch, took off his gloves, and banged on the door. Hadn't the old man said, "Come and see me again soon"? How about today? Say around noon. As soon as the door opened, Paul sang at the top of his voice, a living example of making a joyful noise. He sang a medley of songs that he had heard, although sometimes he confused the words. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Long John Silver's is open all night. Followed by a blending of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer ran over Grandma, fa-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Spurred on by the old man's laughter, the boys sang even louder. You'd better not pout, you'd better not cry, you'd better not be dumb, I'm telling you why, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. The old man was in tears this time with delight, as his young neighbor was such a sight. The boy took a bow when he was done. The old man clapped at such fun. The boy continued looking at his neighbor silently. Then finally, when he hadn't taken the hint, he said, "I'm hungry." Mr. Ott took the hint and invited him inside to see what he could provide. The two enjoyed some tomato soup and toasted cheese. They shared an orange and some more cookies. With his hunger satisfied, Paul looked around the house intently. He then asked, "Where's your Christmas tree?" "I haven't put one up," he replied, "not since my wife," and his voice trailed off. A hush descended upon the room, and it seemed sad. It was detectable even to the little lad. "Tell you what I'll do," replied Mr. Ott. "I'll look down in the basement and see what I've got. Why don't you come back in a day or two, and we'll put up decorations, just me and you." The two shook hands, a gentleman's agreement. The little boy bundled up, and out the door he went. Over the next few hours, Mr. Ott made many trips up and down the stairs, bringing up boxes he hadn't opened in years. There were mangers and lights, decorations and stockings. Each box contained a lifetime of memories. Now they sat there once again waiting to be opened by the old man and his newfound friend. The next day, a knock at the door made Mr. Ott leap from his chair. He shuffled quickly to the door and saw Paul standing there. By his side, his mother accompanied him. Mr. Ott opened the door. "Please, come in." Lois took off her hat and said, "Paul said you invited him today. I just wanted to make sure that was really okay." Mr. Ott smiled at Paul, saying, "I would be delighted. That's why he was invited." This is a day of celebration as we put up my Christmas decorations. You're welcome to join us in the festivities and help as much as you would please. Lois thanked him, but had other things to do. "I'll leave the fun to the two of you. If he becomes a pest, just send him on his way. I'll be home throughout the day." She gave a motherly glance that said, "Behave," then exited out the door with a friendly wave. The two gentlemen began working without haste. There was no time to waste. They set up the manger and hung the greenery. They plugged in the lights and some festive scenery. They set up the tree in front of the window. The beautiful lights gave it a heavenly glow. Each of the ornaments had some history, recalling special occasions and fond memories. The old man shared these stories as he hung the ornaments on the tree. The young boy listened intently. They followed this with a sprinkling of tinsel, though most of it ended somewhere around the boy's eye level. When all was finished, the two looked around at what they'd created. Each in their own way felt elated. The boy looked around, saying, "There's just one thing that's missing. The tree looks kind of bare without any gifts under there." Mr. Ott took a look and agreed, "But at my age, there's really nothing that I need. My gifts no longer fit beneath a tree. They're always within and around me. But maybe I should find something to give away," he said with a wink, "for a little friend on Christmas Day." The two shared a meal of macaroni and cheese. another orange, and again some cookies. The boy talked nonstop as they sat at the table, and the old man kept up as best he was able. Then the boy put on his jacket and headed out into the snow. Mr. Ott put on his jacket too. He had someplace to go. He drove to the mall to find a gift for his friend, but he was overwhelmed in the toy section. Where do I begin? He found a clerk in a nearby aisle and asked for help to find a gift for a young child. Does he have an Xbox or a PlayStation 5? What about a Nintendo games for the little lad? Does he like Squishmallows or have an iPad? Does he like Yamaguchi pets or hex bugs? Would he like a habitat for banana slugs? Does he play Minecraft or Rock Band? Perhaps he'd like a video player small enough to fit in the palm of his hand. Mr. Ott felt perplexed and had that look on his face. He had never felt so out of place. Having no idea what to say, he mumbled a polite thank you and walked away. He would trust his instincts and hope for the best. A few simple gifts would work fine, he guessed. A couple of matchbox cars and a book to read, a game to play together would be the perfect gifts indeed. The next day, Mr. Ott walked through the house admiring the decorations. It reminded him of previous years and Christmas preparations. It filled his heart with warmth and joy, all thanks to that little neighbor boy. He looked outside wondering what adventures might await today, and he saw the boy was already outside at play. He was scooping up snow and rolling it with his hand. Mr. Ott realized he was trying to build a snowman. From his window, he watched with delight as the boy worked with all of his might. He felt a gentle nudge urging him to join in this day. Perhaps it was his own inner child calling him out to play. He made a conscious choice to listen to that inner voice. He joined the little boy in the task at hand, stacking large mounds of snow to create a second snowman. The two stood on the lawn side by side, the same appearance, just different in size. They dressed them up in traditional ways. The little one had a broom, the taller one a cane. A wool hat and warm sweater for the taller one. The smaller had a colorful scarf and baseball cap to keep out the sun. Each one had raisins that formed a smiley face and arms made of sticks appearing to embrace. A few finishing touches, and then they were satisfied. Two glorious snowmen standing side by side. With contented hearts, they admired with glee. The little boy proclaimed, "They look just like you and me." Throughout the rest of the day, Mr. Ott would peek out his window, enjoying the image of him and his own little shadow. On Christmas Day, Mr. Ott went about his usual routine. He fixed a breakfast of toast and jam and some hot tea. He read the morning paper from cover to cover, then solved the crossword puzzle and Sudoku one after another. He thought of his wife and Christmases gone by, and how those fond memories never really die. He remembered Christmas mornings as they exchanged gifts, and how she'd say, "Oh, how thoughtful," always giving him a kiss. Then they worked together for a special meal that always included oyster stew, then off to church for services, his arm around her in the pew. Good memories like a gift, unwrapped again and again. They remain with you like an ever-present friend. His mind returned to the present and the gifts beneath his tree. It was time to make a special delivery. He put on his coat and hat and walked out the door, carrying these special gifts for his little neighbor. Lois seemed surprised and welcomed him inside. "I've got a few things for the boy, and I thought I'd bring them by." When he heard the voice, Paul was delighted. And when he saw the gifts, he was doubly excited. He tore into the gifts without delay, sending paper and ribbon flying every which way. Each gift was met with increasing pleasure as if he had received a priceless treasure. "What do you say?" his mother prodded. "Thank you," he said, and Mr. Ott nodded. "I have something for you too," the little boy said. He turned and down the hall he sped. His mother shrugged her shoulders and had a look of surprise. Whatever it was would be a surprise to everyone's eyes. While he departed, the two of them stood there alone. Lois said, "I appreciate the kindness that you have shown, and your patience and generosity, they mean a lot to me. You're a good and thoughtful man, Mr. Ott," she said. He cherished those familiar words and the unexpected kiss atop his head. The old man smiled and said, "Sometimes that big house feels empty. It's been good to have his company. Having his energy and laughter has been a real treat and helped to make my life complete. He is welcome to come by any time. The pleasure is indeed mine." Just then, Paul returned with a shoebox with stickers on the lid. He extended the gift with a big grin, a pride that could not be hid. The box was feather light, and the old man shook it gently. He held it to his ears and listened intently. Carefully, he opened the top and peered inside. His face lit up, and his eyes grew wide. He pulled out a picture with several scenes drawn with great care. The first one showed carolers singing together on the lawn, while two people with smiling faces looked on. Next to that was a room decorated with festive lights, while two onlookers enjoyed the sights. In the final panel was an image that captured it all, a child's handwriting that said, "To my friend, love, Paul." To the untrained eye, the picture was far from a Currier and Ives, but the sentiment brought tears to the old man's eyes. It was a beautiful gift, inspired and given in love, the kind of love that comes from above. I remember how the old man had agreed, "There's nothing that I really need. My gifts no longer fit beneath a tree. They are always within and around me." But still to this day, if you visit his home, there's a framed picture on the wall. It's the image of the picture-perfect Christmas, signed, "Love, Paul." Love may be wrapped in paper and bows, or something simple like swaddling clothes. Wherever love is the gift that we share, the spirit of the first Christmas will be found there. And God's love is born anew in the hearts of people like me and you. Amen. So before we sing Silent Night, Pastor Jen and I will light our candles, and we're going to come out into the congregation, and we'll come to the end of the aisles and light your candles and have you pass them down the aisle as we sing the hymn. On the final verse, we invite you to hold your candle up high so that we can all share in the delight and view of that moment. As you are receiving the light, if you have the lit candle, hold it straight, and those that are lighting from it, if you would tip your candle into it, that way you're not getting hot wax on your neighbor. heard me say this before. This is my favorite moment. How beautiful you look in the candlelight. And if nobody has told you that today, hear that reflected in that light. You are beautiful people. And God loved you enough to say, I want to come and be with them. Not just 2,000 years ago, but today and every day. Friends, cherish that love. Recognize your beauty and goodness. And go share that light and love with all the world. May we go in peace. Amen.